Hello everyone, JACKDAMJIEN YouTube channel. So let's talk about massive 40-mile convoy buildup Vladimir Putin has done. It's 40-mile convoy. It was supposed to have taken Ukraine a couple of weeks ago, but it has not. Uh, so I was watching an interview with Fox News, and this special ops analyst named Brett Velikovich, former almost special ops intel analyst, uh, talks about how some Ukrainians are going to have to be taken out of the country and how it's difficult for the refugees to escape and how they're running into a battle of trying to get VIPs out. And it's beginning to be a bit of a challenge, even though the oil weapon looks pretty good on the ground. So we don't know who's going to win, or we don't know who's going to be victorious, but it is hard to get refugees out. So about the convoy, still outside the capital, and Ukraine forces are putting up quite a fight in Kiev. There's been airstrikes. I believe they're taking about 3 towns so far. So, but it seems like the military machine is stalled, and there's not a lot of progress as far as like taking key interests like nuclear sites, government buildings, um, oil fields, places with a lot of telemetry equipment, vehicles, and foodstuffs, residential areas with breaking stores, steal lollipops, guitars, cigarettes, and fake money. So, special operations soldiers have a special insight for this sort of thing. And so it's good that we have people to analyze this, see what the situation can be on the ground and what it's shaping up to be. So the last 72 hours have been a humanitarian crisis, worse than anyone could ever have predicted. And, the Ukrainians are resisting, but not by much. It's expected for the city to fall anyway. Not expected to last more than a couple of days, but the city are really fighting back. They're fighting back for their land. They're very survival, actually. And this is not something that's going to be done very quickly. It's a terrible situation. You just about guess that over the board it is Putin's military targeting a maternity hospital and targeting a regular hospital. There's been residential buildings that have been blown up. There's been cluster bombs used, anti-aircraft packed weapons, and basically just all around war crimes committed in the name of satisfying this evil man's lust for power. If they were to conquer Ukraine, they get rid of Europe. If it could conquer Ukraine, it could also conquer Poland. Poland could also be part of Russia, which is very hard to do, since he already lost as many troops as he has. But with airstrikes, he can level the city and basically do whatever he like. There's not many corridors left. There's not many territories to explore. The soldiers are fighting valiantly back, but how long can he keep it up? I mean, outfitting them with shotguns, flak jackets, water bottles, food, and the like. But we do not know how long they can hold on actually. But they're very tough people. So we're going to give it a shot with Ukraine. And it's a lot of virtue signaling on that as well. People supporting because social media has these hashtag Ukraine flags, and they want to support the city, but they really don't know what's going on. Putin says the denazification of Ukraine, that it's a lot of Nazis, they say. We don't know because we're not there, but the people that are there actually know. You have to put yourself in that situation and actually you have to be real Ukrainian to know that this is affecting you because people don't know where to go. The embassy, this administration,
what they're doing publicly, they're not responding to American citizens on the ground. It's one of the first situations I've ever seen that your stuff, the American government literally said we are not coming.
So if it's like you're stranded in Ukraine or Russia, good luck, buddy, because we're not going to come get you. I mean, you should have never gone over that. That's the message. I'm not really using such urgency to try to find us anywhere. American citizens and stuff in the Balkans, particularly Ukraine, probably even checking a ticket for a ticket to Moscow was a round trip first class, 30,000 euros, 30,000, and a round trip to Ukraine currently checked the same day. It was about $2,200, $2,200 American. So the prices are really high. It's hairy, and no one wants to be there. Also, the abuse of the African immigrants. There's a lot of paperwork for that. I'm saying that the situation is spiraling out of control. And see, the State Department has to interfere somehow. But getting American citizens is different from helping Ukraine, different from helping someone in Ukraine fighting and dying over the place. You should get out people out. That's American sovereignty. It's just a right. But if you're an American citizen, you should have your government come and get you, make moves to save you from this war situation. If not, then it shows that your government's not really committed to properly protecting you. So I think for as good that someone puts the support of effort towards getting Americans, and I think that's good and well. That's what we want to explore and go on these adventures. If your government can't even pick you up really from a country that's hostile, I think you should reconsider traveling. Maybe you should not travel. And there's also emergency order. There's aid being cut off from this country, but also the fuel that's been coming from Russia proper is actually being sanctioned. There's a lot of sanctions on that, so the fuel is supposed to go up substantially. I believe it's going to be $139 a barrel. It's projected to increase by about 1.4%. So this $149 per barrel oil this month proper will be immediately 1.4% increase, or more, even approaching 2.8%. So there's a lot of inconsistent variables with that, and it's just something we want to keep our eyes on to go forward in this. Let's talk about the fuel prices. There's a few prices.
We still don't know the consequences of
See, the Ukraine and Russia, we said the bread baskets of bread. I believe 20% of the wheat and grains come from Ukraine and Russia. No one wants to.
They're actually canceling athletes because they represent Russia. It's extraordinary, but it's happening. We still don't know the consequences of all these sanctions. Well, some of you guys should be convinced that Russia is going to be bankrupt because of what's going on with ruble, what's going on with the sanctions. Here's the deal. With a Swiss ban, you got to understand, 7 Russian banks were banned from the Swiss messaging system. However, that ban does not include energy companies, okay? Because a lot of the European countries rely on Russia for energy, for gas. So one of the main ways that Russia makes money through exports is, well, energy. So they still have access to that money. And what they're doing is they're creating a situation where they're limiting the amount of supply of Russian energy. So they're artificially raising the price, which is still going to help Germany. It's still going to help Russia because they can still make their money that way. Now, by shutting down Nord Stream 2, they're going to reduce the amount of volume coming from Russia, but they still need gas from Russia. So they're going to end up with a situation where there's a higher price. And speaking of a higher price for energy, right here in the U.S., we're seeing gas prices go up and up and up. I think the average is somewhere around $3.70 cents now, or 70, 80 cents right now. It's been going up about 10, 15 cents every day, it seems, at least in my area. I don't know how bad it's going to get. If you ask me how high is oil going to, how high is gas going to get, I don't know. I drive a gas guzzler. When I got out, I was used to just driving a short distance to work. Now I have to drive a much further distance. I have to put premium gas in there, but at least it's recommended. So if gas is $3.80, I'm going to be paying like $4.30 or something like that for premium. So it's a lot of people are feeling the pinch, they're feeling the pressure, and it goes far beyond just energy. Because you need energy to produce crops. You need energy to produce a lot of food. Fertilizer, for example. The Russians have a big exporting business in fertilizer. Okay, potash is one. They control 17% of the market, 18% of the market exports. Ammonium, around 20% of that market as far as exports. They control a lot. They export a lot as far as fertilizer. Okay, they also export a lot as far as food. Some of you guys are convinced that the Russian economy is going to collapse. Here's the deal: China has not spoken out against Russia. They still are doing business with Russia. India, China is the most populous country on the planet, the second most populous country on the planet, the second biggest population, India. They're still doing business with Russia. Okay, even Europe. They are still doing business with Russia, so that's just a reality that we have to deal with. As far as reality, looking at Ukraine, the military situation is like this. Look, we have to face the fact that it looks like the Russians are going to be controlling that situation, regardless of whether you support the invasion or their actions or not. From the Russian perspective, they went in there because NATO kept expanding eastward. They went in there because they wanted to protect a lot of the Russian ethnic individuals in Donbass. That was part of their justification going in there. Obviously, the U.S. had their own justifications going into Iraq. There was talks about weapons of mass destruction, and it wasn't really true. And the U.S. had military action in Libya to overthrow their government, military action in a number of different areas. So you can look at it as good guys versus bad guys. I just look at it as people protecting their own interests. And speaking of interests, here's what everybody's interest is, in my humble opinion. No nuclear war. Okay, all this talk about the NATO and the U.S. implemented a no-fly zone in Ukraine basically would set up a situation where U.S. Air Force, NATO Air Force jets would be shooting down Russian ones. The Russians would shoot back. People who are advocating this stuff are advocating a situation that could drag us into World War III. Some people are arguing that we already have World War III. Well, the bombs haven't dropped yet, so I think we should still take a breath, okay, and try to work together, try to avoid a situation that's going to lead to nuclear war. I don't want to see that happen. It's just not necessary. We have disagreements. Russians have disagreements with the West as far as the security situation in Ukraine. And it looks like the Russians will be in position to sort of put in a government or change the current government to a government that's going to be more friendly towards their interests. That appears to be the reality. The question is, what happens if China makes a move on Taiwan? Then what's going to be the play from the U.S. government? How will the U.S. respond to that? So, when you look at the food situation, yes, the Russians, their ministry actually announced, one of their ministries, the trade ministry, actually announced that they're recommending that these Russian companies put a hold on exporting a lot of fertilizers until the transportation situation is resolved. Because right now, a lot of countries are banning Russian planes from entering their airspace. So now the Russians are saying, hey, well, until we have this transportation situation dealt with, we're recommending that our companies suspend distributing this fertilizer. Well, a lot of these countries rely on this for agriculture to actually create crops and actually create food. Right. You see the problem with these sanctions and the situation it creates for the West, the U.S., the problems it creates for the U.S. dollar, the problems it creates. for other countries as well. Okay, and Hungary is saying that they want to put a stop to grain, the export of grains. So if you're into rice or anything like that, something you might want to think about.
He said if you're into
They
rice,
recommend they're going to immediately suspend the export of grain, all the grains. So we could be looking at a serious food situation on this planet, a serious fertilizer situation. It goes far beyond just energy. So something to think about, guys. Thank you for watching. Oh, one last thing. Ukraine. One more thing I got to mention. There's a report that, the Ukrainians said the Russians shelled, the president of Ukraine said the Russians shelled a nuclear power plant. And there was a lot of fear over this. There's reports that, there's a radiation leak, and the Ukrainian government, I think they reported there was an increase in radiation levels. Well, it turns out the Ukrainian regulators are now coming out and saying that, you know what, there hasn't been an increase in the radiation level. There was a fire, but it was in an auxiliary building, compartment auxiliary building. That's what the articles are saying, and there hasn't been an increase in any type of background radiation at that nuclear power plant. So that's really good news. People say, this is a war crime if the Russians shelled it. Well, and, like I said, there's an information war going on out there, both sides. I definitely can understand the different perspectives. The thing is, I don't want us to go. I want peace on the as far as I don't want a full-scale nuclear war. So that's just my perspective on things. So share your thoughts. How does this situation in Ukraine differ from the different situations that the U.S. has been involved in? And how do you think these sanctions will ultimately affect us here in the U.S. and in Europe? So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to feature blogs for those who prepared for it today.
Thank you, Dimcat. Well, he said a lot of interesting things. A lot I didn't agree with. A lot of it I did agree with. Most of it I agree with. Most of it I didn't agree with. A lot of it I agree with. Some of it I did agree with. I didn't agree with anything. I agree with all of it. So, Dimcat, thank you for your input on this YouTube channel. I really hope we go to war. And I really hope we don't go to war. I hope we have a lot of explosions, lots of war casualties, lots of nuclear unrest, lots of non-casualties, lots of babies surviving, lots of babies not surviving. Hope we have lots of sex, lots of not sex, lots of disappointments, lots of triumphs. Hope we had a lot of shaved heads, lots of hairy heads. I hope the Ukrainians can get their potash situation together. I also hope the weed eaters can bring us fertilizer because we need the fertilizer. Because I really wanted to grow some grass in the right way. But if I can't grow the grass like that, I will grow something. Maybe it'll be a cherry tomato or watermelon plant that's died 6 months ago. As I put in Ukraine, I put the water there. I thought it was going to grow, but it did not grow. Why? Why grow watermelon not grow? But is it Monday? Okay. Thanks for your time. I'm JACKDAMJIEN. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.